Okay, perfect. So I have a couple of slides first, and just to introduce myself, I'm Margaret Ramey. I'm the Outreach Specialist with Wisconsin Center for Technology Commercialization, or CTC. I want to thank you all for joining us for our USDA webinar. Before I pass the baton over to Melinda here, I want to share a little bit about our free resources that the CTC provides to Wisconsin businesses. We are part of UW Systems Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship, and we are known as Wisconsin's no-cost SBIR resource, offering free advice, free consulting, free events, programming, and even grants to Wisconsin small businesses seeking SBIR funding. So there are there's 4.5 of us on our team, and we have many, many years of experience assisting small businesses pursue this funding. So this slide quick over some of the programming that we do provide. Our programming spans from pre-proposal submittal to post-phase 2 award. We do manage a grant program that may award Wisconsin companies up to $9,000 to offset the cost of a grant or commercialization consultant that will assist in preparing a phase 1 or phase 2 SBIR or STTR. We run a pre-submission panel review that mimics agency application review sessions. So this review will get you feedback on your draft proposal weeks before the actual agency deadline. It's very popular and helpful. Now, once you get an SBIR award, we can assist you in just-in-time paperwork, as well as offering a competitive post-award state matching grant. So this state matching grant could provide up to $275,000 over a few years in matching funds for your phase 1 and phase 2 projects. So I do encourage everyone, and I'll be sending out information about all this after this event, but I encourage people to sign up for our newsletters and follow us on social media to get all the updates on the timelines for these programs. So one program that we are currently accepting applications for is ID Advance. ID Advance is ideal for small businesses. Not sure if they're quite ready for the SBIR program. We now do have 2 stage 1 tracks that are available. Eligibility has expanded over the last year, and we now include teams with a member that is faculty, staff, student, alumni of any UW system school, including Madison. So that's new as of last year. So Madison is included now. So check it out or contact me for more information on this program. Let's see what's next. So we do have 2 upcoming CTC events, NSF program overview and planning the project, and then a pre-submission panel review for NSF as well. And these again are free to Wisconsin companies. Here is our website, which you will get shortly as well. If you'd like to speak to one of our consultants, just go to our website and fill out the request for counseling form. And here's today's agenda. Melinda, the USDA SBIR Program Coordinator, will speak first, and then we'll go into our panel discussion with 2 Wisconsin USDA SBIR awardees, and then questions and answers. Just a little bit of logistics. If you do have a question throughout Melinda's presentation, you can enter it in the Q&A section in WebEx. And if it's appropriate, then we can cover during that. If that's okay, Melinda, if that's okay with you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Any way you want to do it is fine. Sometimes answering questions as they come up, I think makes a lot of sense.
Okay, perfect. So Melinda, I will make you the presenter now.
Okay.
And
Okay.
thank you for being here with us too.
No, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Let me make sure okay. How does that look?
Perfect.
Oh, good. Okay. I was afraid you were not going to say that. So thank you. So thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Again, I'm Melinda Coffman, Program Coordinator for the USDA SBIR program. And I'm going to spend just a little bit of time telling you about our program today. And thank you, Margaret, for inviting me to the Wisconsin Center for Technology and Commercialization. Again, I'm very glad to be here. So first, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the program goals. That's the foundation of our program. And SBIR programs, these goals are for all SBIR programs, not just USDA. So the goals include stimulating technology of innovations in the private sectors of the United States business community. And we want to strengthen the role of small business. Small business is not easy, and we understand that. And so this is one small way to strengthen the role of small business. We'd like to increase commercialization of innovations. And for USDA, of course, it's agricultural innovations scientific innovations that we're interested in. And last, but certainly not least, is that we want to foster and encourage participation by historically underserved populations. And we're really making a strong effort and a strong push to have more historically underserved populations apply for and therefore be awarded USDA SBIR grants. This is the non-discrimination statement, and it's long. I'm not going to go through it all, but you, if it's all right with Margaret, then you will get a copy, probably a PDF of these slides, and you can read through it. But I guess I want you to know is that we do abide by this. This is important to us. It includes a lot of different groups, you know, from religion, gender, disability, you know, political beliefs, all of these groups it includes, and we take it seriously. And so please feel free to look through this when you get a copy of these slides. So for USDA SBIR, there are 3 phases. We fund 2 of those phases. We fund phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 1 is there to establish your commercial potential. It's a proof of concept. It's an 8-month time period, but it's very easy to get an extension if you need that. A lot of things are seasonally based, crop based, so it's very easy to get an extension. Phase 2 is there to continue the research and development that was initiated in phase 1, but it's also to really start the push towards commercialization, a much stronger push. And then phase 3, after you completed phase 2, phase 3, it is not funded, so you can find other private funding for phase 3, and that is just to continue commercialization efforts that were started in phase 2, if needed. And a little bit about our budget. Our annual budget is $30 million, and phase 1, the award sizes range from $125,000 to $175,000. And again, it's 8 months, but can easily be extended to 20 months if you need that. And we have 10 topic areas, and I'll go over those in a little while and explain the discrepancy between the $125,000 and the $175,000 in phase 1. In phase 2, it's $600,000 for for all topic areas, and that lasts 24 months. So just to give you some idea of the funding that has been phase 1 generally runs around 15%. So you can see in FY20 it was 16%, FY21 it was 15%, and so in FY21 we got 526 applications. It was very similar in FY22. So I think we're going to run in the 500s for applications. And then phase 2, that has a much higher award rate. So FY20 it's 43%, FY21 it's 48. It was 48%. Here are some of the metrics for success for USDA SBIR is sales for small business concerns, the sale of their technology and services, licensing their technology or their innovation, and creating new jobs. So we look at all of these things as indicators of success. Some of the features of the USDA SBIR program include that the ideas that the innovations come from, that they're investigator initiated. And the awards are based both on scientific and technical merit. That's really important, but also the commercial potential of the innovation. And then we also look at the PI and the company qualifications. Subcontracting to universities and USDA labs, or federal labs actually, is not only permitted, but it's encouraged. And we also offer technical and business assistance. So what is technical and business assistance? It's called TABA or TABA, however you want to pronounce it. And it was introduced as part of the John S. McCain National Defense Authorization Act in fiscal year 2019. It includes things, it's in place to help a lot of small businesses who might have a science base, might have a scientist running the small business, to get a little boost on the business side. They're probably pretty competent as far as the scientific side, but maybe lacking a little bit on the business side. So that was why it was kind of created, to give that boost to for scientific innovations, because that science piece and that business piece are pretty, and that commercialization piece are pretty equal. So TABA can help with a lot of things. This is just a small list, but like IP legal costs, that's a really important one and a really popular one. Market research, all of the consults on funding strategy, and all of those things and more. It can help with those things. And TABA does not come out of your budget. It's something that USDA pays for, so it's on top of your budget. So for instance, with phase 2, the TABA budget is $50,000. So that the $50,000 is not coming out of the $600,000 that you could be awarded. It is on top of that, and USDA pays for it. And this illustrates that a little bit more. It's $6,500 for phase 1 and $50,000 for phase 2. And the $6,500 in phase 1 is pretty much focused on developing your commercialization plan for phase 2, because you'll need a strong commercialization plan in your proposal for phase 2, because that is, when you're really starting a stronger push towards commercialization. These are our topic areas. We have 10 topic areas, and they're all very broad, and they're very broad for a reason. They're broad because we are trying to capture innovation, and we can't anticipate what that innovation is going to be, so we keep them broad for that reason. So we're not counting out or overlooking an important innovation. But as you can see, we have a wide variety. It covers pretty much it encompasses pretty much all of agriculture, everything from forests and related resources. We have 2: plant production and protection. One is biology focused and the other is engineering focused. Of course, we have animal production and protection, conservation, natural resources, air, water, soil. We have food science and nutrition. That's pretty large topic area. We have rural and community development, aquaculture, biofuels and bio-based products, and then small and mid-sized farms. You may notice that 8.6 and 8.12 are a different color, and that is there just to remind me to let you know those are the two topic areas that have a few differences. One is that those are the two topic areas that are funded at $125,000 versus $175,000. And the other thing about these two topic areas is that just for those two, 8.6 and 8.12, you do not have to have a new innovation. You can use off-the-shelf technology as long as it's applied in an innovative way. So you have to have a completely new idea about how to apply the existing technology. And this slide is just here just to remind people that agriculture is a scientific field, that it's sophisticated science. And if you have a innovation, a scientific innovation, it might be worth taking a little time and thinking through whether there is an agricultural application for your innovation, because we deal with in all of these things listed here and much more than that. So just a reminder that agriculture is science-based and it's very sophisticated in a scientific method. So keep that in mind, please. This is a little bit about our timelines, our general timelines. We have phase one this year is planned for release in July. I have to give the caveat that sometimes it's delayed and we don't always have a lot of control over that, but we almost always publish in July, and that is our aim every year. And then the proposal deadline is scheduled for early October of this year. Then the panels, because we use a peer review process that I'll talk about in a minute, the panels will be held December through January of 2022, and then January 23. And then the awards will be given in June and July of 23. For phase two, it's important to note that phase two is only open to phase one awardees. So there's no straight to phase two. Some SBIR programs do have straight to phase two, but not USDA. So our solicitation is usually always released in December. Again, that sometimes can be delayed. It was a little delayed last year, but we're hoping not for this year. So December 22, and then the proposal deadline is actually, this says April 23, and we just did an update. I think it's going to be actually March, early March of 23. And then panels will be held May through June and awards given in August. Now we're going to talk just a little bit about the review process. So we do use peer review. It's confidential peer review, and we use outside experts, and they come from a lot of different places. They come a lot from academia, but from industry, nonprofits, and sometimes from federal labs. So we get that wide variety of expertise and top-notch expertise on our panels because we believe that that is the best and fairest way to review proposals. And then all the applicants will receive copies of the reviews and the reviewers' comments. And if you recall the 15% award rate for phase one, for instance, you can use that feedback you get from the panel to tweak or adjust your proposal and apply the following year. There's no limit on the number of times you can apply for phase one. So that feedback is meant to make your proposal more competitive. So you can use that feedback to apply again the following year. And again, just I want to emphasize that phase 2 applicants are only able to apply one time. So university and government scientists' involvement in USDA SBIR programs. There is a thing, and we'll talk about it more, called a Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, or a CRADA, with a U.S. lab. It can be a USDA lab or it can be a federal lab. So if you have some research that that a federal lab is also working on, this is something you might want to consider, is using a CRADA agreement. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But scientists can serve as consultants, or they can receive a subcontract, and they can continue to work at their full-time at their home institution. For phase 1, they're limited to no more than 1/3 of the award, and for phase 2, they're limited to no more than 1/2 of the award. Scientists can serve as a PI by reducing but they have to reduce their employment at their home institution to 49% or less for the duration of the grant. And it's usually not acceptable for university or government scientists to serve as consultants and have all the research done in their labs. They have to find other lab facilities. CRADA agreements. The thing about CRADA agreements is that they're one of the only things that give you a distinct advantage for USDA SBIR. So if we have 2 proposals that are judged by the panel as being of equal merit, having a CRADA agreement will increase your chances of award. It will actually put you over the top for that award. So it's something to consider if you are thinking about applying for an SBIR grant for this coming year, FY23, which will be released in July, hopefully. Now and you're interested in a CRADA, now is a good time to start looking into it, because they do take a while to develop CRADA agreements. And so this would be a really good time to start working on that or exploring it. Some factors that improve the chances of award success. So having that high, scientific technical merit along with commercial potential is really the crux of it. So making sure you have that and that you convey that well in your proposal. And for USDA, we do not shy away from high risk, high reward proposals. So if you feel that your innovation falls into that category of high risk, high reward, don't let it discourage you. We welcome those. Other things that improve your chances of award success include good consultants and having a CRADA agreement, as we talked about, demonstrating that you have access to some business expertise on your team. And then letters of support are really quite important. So if you can get, 2 to 4 letters of support from phase 3 partners, so this could be your end users, your customers, or investors, that is really quite an important thing. It will be kind of a negative mark if you have no letters of support. So I highly suggest you work to get those. And then in your proposal, if you can spend a little bit of time conveying that you have a really clear understanding of how you're going to enter the market and how you're going to, once you're there, how you're going to sustain your innovation in the market. So just in preparation, if you're going to apply, you intend to apply this year, first you need to register with SBIR.gov, and then you have to register with grants.gov. And in order to register with grants.gov, you have to register with SAM.gov. And SAM.gov is the thing that can take a little while. So if you already have a SAM.gov account, then just make sure that it's updated, because there's an annual update, and just make sure by the time of the deadline, by the time you apply, that you're still going to be good with your SAM.gov number. But if you're registering for the first time, just keep in mind that it can take 2 weeks with additional 5 or more weeks to acquire that SAM.gov registration number. And I will say this, not to confuse you, but during the pandemic, it was lifted that you had the requirement that you had to have that SAM.gov number was lifted at grants.gov. So you could apply without having the SAM.gov. You had to have the number by the time, if and when you were awarded. But I don't know when that's going to end. So the best thing to do is just go ahead and get it out of the way, get that piece off your plate, so you can focus on the rest of the application and writing a really strong proposal. And then then once you've done all that, then you can create a grants.gov username and account. So now I have a few pages of advice for you. So you can contact, once you figure out which topic area you belong in, and you know that a lot of times people, since we have 10 topic areas and they're broad, you'll find that your innovation fits into more than one topic area. So if that's the case, we have an SBIR National Program Leader, and he's a scientist who is familiar with all the topic areas and can help guide you or help tell you the pros and cons between the fit of your innovation and the topic areas that you're thinking of, to help you kind of narrow it. So if you feel like you fit in more than one, you can contact me and I'll get you hooked up with Dr. David Songstad, who's our SBIR National Program Leader. And then once you figure out which topic area you belong in, or if you're kind of certain of that from the beginning, you can contact that, we call them MPLs, for a consult. And those consults, it's up to the MPL how long those consults are, but I would say generally they're 15 to 20 minutes. And what I suggest, you don't have to do it this way, but I think it works well, is that you write a really informal, very, very brief, like maybe 1 paragraph summary in an email to the National Program Leader for the topic area you're interested in. So that gives them a chance just to understand a little bit about your innovation and be a little bit more prepared for your consult. So write that, and then ask for a consult, and then from there you should be able to schedule a time. And if you ever have any problems with that, just contact me and I'll help hook you up. But that should work very well. It does usually. And then make sure you follow the application guidelines for format, page limits, and required documents. Every year, like last year for FY22, we received 700 applications, but only 525 approximately made it to panel, because the rest of them did not follow all the guidelines. And we go through an administrative review at first, and if you're not following the application guidelines for format, page limits, and required docs, if there's a 16-page limit and you give us 18 pages, we can't really even look at it. We have to have some standard of fairness. So that's really important. And also that you have all the attached documents in the format, like PDF format. So I hate to see people knocked out because of these things that are seemingly small, but they end up being bigger things. So please follow those. And then make sure your application responds to all the review criteria that's listed in the RFA. Read the RFA. That's really important. Most of the answers you'll have, most of the questions you'll find answers to in the RFA. So if you just take some time and really get to know that document, I think it will serve you very well. So if you, at the beginning of your proposal, if you could just briefly give the panel a vision of what you see as the market opportunity. So where do you see your innovation being at the end of phase 3 or at the end of phase 2? Where do you imagine it to be? And just, I guess, kind of share your dream. Share your dream with the panel. Don't spend a lot of time on it, but you know, just a very brief paragraph, perhaps. Make sure you focus on the critical enabling factors for your innovation, and align your project with the USD priorities, which are listed in the RFA. The priorities that are important to SBIR are listed in there. You will have to provide a detailed experimental plan, because your proposal cannot really be assessed very well without a detailed experimental plan. And that has to include proprietary information. We're very good at keeping that confidential, so please don't worry about that. But you must include proprietary information in that. And then don't forget about that, you know, bringing some insight into the commercial potential. That's really good. And as part of that, showing, you know, the letters of support. That's very important. There are all kinds of application assistance resources, and I strongly encourage people to use these. And I know that this audience is aware of some of that, but I just want to make sure everyone knows that there is assistance out there. I know that this grant process can be a little daunting sometimes, but there's help. So you have small business development centers. There's 62 in total, and there's at least one in each state. And here's a website where you can locate all the small business development centers. There's federal, state, and technology partnership programs, or FAST programs, and that provides funding to help increase the number of SBIR awards from women and minorities, and small businesses that are located in underrepresented areas, which are typically rural states. So that's really important, and make sure you look at FAST programs if you belong in one of those categories. I think they can be really helpful. There are also growth accelerators and incubators. And there are other kind of models too that support SBIR applications. So the way you can find everything in your state is, this is my favorite website, is to go to local assistance for SBIR proposals. And this is the website, and you go and you just choose your state and from a drop-down menu, and it populates all the assistance that's available in your state and where it's located. So I find that very helpful, and I hope you'll take a look and see if it might be helpful to you. Quickly, I'll go through some USDA SBIR success stories just to give you a flavor. That's what we're trying to do, kind of a flavor of the variety and type of successes that have been had in the USDA SBIR program. Prairie Aquatech. They developed a natural process that converts soybean meal to fish feed, and they do that by using microbial enhancement. The name of their product is MePro, and they've had a lot of commercialization success. They commissioned a 30,000 square foot facility in 2019 because they needed to scale up production. And then they're currently producing 30,000 tons of MePro. So they've been very successful. And Sonsite Wind, that's the founder is Dr. Devin McIntosh, and he has had 7 grants from 2002 to 2014 from USDA SBIR, and his company manufactures these small wind turbines that are, they kind of compete with rooftop solar, and they can operate even in moderate wind areas. So this is a great innovation. We're really excited about it. And it's also from socially and economically disadvantaged small business concern. Embrace. This is an older success story, but it was a big success story, so that's why we include it in here. So they developed a higher throughput and superior technology in ovo vaccination. And this technology provides benefits to enhance efficiency and bird performance. In 2001, they were making $44 million in revenues, and they were ultimately purchased by Pfizer. So that was a huge success story. We have a new brochure on our website, and I encourage you to go take a look at the brochure, but also at our website. Again, I'm Melinda Coffman, and you can reach me at this email. We also have a great email for SBIR USDA, and we have two program specialists that know as much about the program as I do, and you can reach out to them through that email address. On the other side of the screen is our website, and I again encourage you to go take a look around. You can get some questions answered there. So thank you very much for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our program.
Thanks, Melinda. That was really helpful. Margaret, do you see any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we have one. What steps do you recommend to start exploring CRADAs in advance, and how would people go about doing that?
Yes, CRADAs, we have an ARS office that deals with CRADAs. I'll tell you that last December, the wonderful contact we had at CRADA, she retired. Good for her. It was a loss for us, and I don't know if they've replaced her yet, but you can contact me, and I will find out who is fulfilling her shoes right now. So I'll help guide you through that.
Okay, thank you. And anyone else have any other questions before we move on to our panel?
Does not look like it, but if you come up with any questions throughout the panel for Melinda or for the panelists or Brian or me, just put them in the chat or the Q&A, whichever works for you. I'll monitor both throughout the panel. So,
okay,
thank you, Melinda.
Sure.
Thanks. So picking up on that, so to complement the information provided by Melinda, we've asked leaders from a couple of Wisconsin startups who have received the USDA SBIR awards to share some things about their experience. And so with us is Milo Wiltbank. It's co-founder of a company called Science Biotechnology in the Madison area, and more specifically Verona is the town. He's also a professor in the Department of Animal and Dairy Sciences at UW-Madison. Also with us is Nico Angelbear, who is the CEO and co-founder of SeedLinked in Viroqua, Wisconsin, which is in the western side of the state, not too far from the city of La Crosse. And so Nico and Milo, thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to start by asking you just to give us a little introduction, a very brief introduction to your company and your role there. And let's start with Milo.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Melinda, for the information. So I'm Milo Wiltbank, and we started this company back in 2018. And we knew that we were going to try to do it, at least start it on grants, federal grants, maybe some local money, etc. As we kind of talked about, it was going to be ant steps. It was going to be very slow. And so what our company does is we're producing recombinant proteins, that have carbohydrate groups, so they're called glycoproteins. Now, for human medicine, there's hundreds of these glycoproteins that are approved for use in medicine. Many of them are monoclonal antibodies that do certain things, that are a lot of the products you see on television. In animal agriculture, there's only really 2 glycoproteins that are approved, and those are from large companies. And so we're trying to do this. We think that a small company has more flexibility to produce products that we think are very useful for the industry. So we've started out with things that are in my area, which are reproduction, but we also have some products that are related to health and to appetite for animals, for dairy cattle. And so we've been able to receive 2 SBIR Phase 1 grants. One we submitted in 2018, it wasn't approved, and then in 2019 it was approved on the resubmission. The second one we submitted in 2020, it wasn't approved, and then in 2021 it was approved. And so we're just starting into that second grant. And so we've made a lot of progress. We're not large. We started with my daughter as the PI. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, let's come back to that a little bit.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, sorry, Brian, a little bit too much detail.
No worries. Nico, why don't you jump in and give us a little intro?
Hi. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks, Melinda. You provided a lot of information that really very useful for all of applicants. I'm from France originally. I created Seedlink in 2017. I was previously for 10 plus years in big seed company as breeder research director. And Seedlink is a 2-sided platform that helps growers find the best seed for where they are using crowdsourcing data from manuals or grower. And the project of SBIR Phase 1 was demonstrating that crowdsourcing data straight from the farmer was as or more predictable than typical research station, highly expensive breeding model. And there was just few publications on different model and algorithm that came out. And so we submitted our first SBIR Phase 1 in September, end of September 2017, and awarded in 18, and then execution from end of 18 to 2020, so much more than 8 months, and it was totally possible. And then SBIR Phase 2 submitted in 2020, thanks to CTC SBIR Advents.
So let's kind of jump to what made you. When we talked before, you mentioned you had quite a decision about picking the topic area. How did you tell us a little bit about that? How did you go about picking your topic area, and why was that such a big discussion?
Yeah, I mean, Melinda, you mentioned contacting the topic leader. It's definitely something I did, talking to other people, and our technology is definitely sitting onto the plant breeding or topics, I think 8.2, and the small and medium farm as we were really focusing on specialty crop, small farm, medium farm, to really give them the power of data that large farm don't really have. And so it was a discussion of strategy of like, there's definitely a lot of proposal in the plant genetic and so forth, and much less proposal in the small, medium. At least that was the advice. And
looks like we lost you for a couple of seconds there, Nico. At least I did on my side. So did everyone else?
I can repeat that. Yeah, we had discussion about plant breeding or 8.2, who was definitely more crowded versus the small and medium farms that potentially was less. And then with both topics, area leader and also other people, we decided to submit into the small and medium farm area.
Okay, thank you for that. Milo, you mentioned you mentioned something in that conversation as well that and I don't know how much you went back and forth about the topic area because it was a pretty specific match for you. But I think you mentioned something about being strategic in that selection, learning that you needed to be strategic in that selection and topic area. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, animal production was pretty much our area, and I talked to Bob Smith, who's the person in charge of that, and he felt it fit in really well there. And so we kind of knew exactly what we were doing, even though we didn't get funded the first time like Nico. But it's, yeah, it pretty much fit pretty well into that topic.
Let's roll into that. You know, you mentioned that you had to do some resubmissions. So tell us a little bit about that experience and you know, how you responded to those.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've written grants for years as a professor, but these are quite different because you really have to deal with the market potential. And the panel actually was really useful to me. We did the proposal preparation with you guys, Brian, through the Wisconsin, whatever you call your group there. The
Center for Technology Commercialization, CTC?
Yes, exactly. So we got money from you to hire a consultant to help us with the proposal preparation because we had never done one for this, and then we went in but once we got the reviews back, we could really address some of those issues that they had, and that actually really strengthened the proposal, made it a lot better. So I not getting it accepted the first time isn't that horrible of a thing. For phase twos, it is because you only get one submission, but for phase ones, you get some really good feedback. So for both of our proposals, you get an extra page to respond to the panel, and that really actually improved our proposals quite a lot. And so they came in pretty good the second time.
Can you share anything about the kinds of, you know, whatever you're willing to share, can you share anything about the kinds of feedback you got or the kinds of things you needed to respond to? Just the kind of
well, the thing I could do with the response was I could emphasize what they were enthusiastic about, and so that made it sound like they were enthusiastic, and so I could emphasize that, and then I could say the most negative aspects where they expressed concern that could we get it done, was the technology actually going to happen, because we're a small company doing pretty big things. But once we convinced them that we could actually make the recombinant proteins and that it was working, I think that made that part of the criticism really a strength because we could address it directly with our preliminary data. So that's the thing. If you can get a little bit of money to keep your preliminary data going and get something, then you usually can get a pretty good grant in. It doesn't have to have everything done. You can be pretty small and mostly just a vision, and then you can kind of put it together, and the panel kind of can see your vision if you can put it in pictures and make it very clear.
Nico, you got through on the first try. What do you think the strong points were from your proposal?
I think I was taking a lot of risk. I don't know how this was perceived, but I had a really good position in Corteva as research director, and I was committing to pretty much quit to get moved to jump into seedlings. I had also, you know, a lot of experience in the field. The model we were proposing, I feel, is very unique and different, and definitely very disruptive. And so the reviewer really enjoy kind of the boldness, I guess, of the direction, and they did not really like it in the phase two, which also reflect how reviewers are different, and it's part of the game. Also, grants. I did a lot of grants prior of my PhD and other, and you know, some reviewers are sometimes they like, sometimes they don't, and there's definitely some aspect that you can improve, but also there's definitely some subjective aspect, and so I think that was really the big piece that makes the proposal solid. I think having a collaboration with ag entity like Melinda you mentioned definitely was a strong point. Having a lot of help from you, CTC, through the pre-proposal, in writing and rewriting and rewriting. I feel with the CTC, it's just incredible the help we get, and it was so valuable pre and post SBIR. So.
Okay, you touched upon, you took a lot of risk when in making that decision to actually start the business is kind of what you're implying. Kind of getting back to and Milo started talking down this path as well before. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? So in our previous conversation, you talked about it being a big step for you. So maybe share a few words about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was when you have a very stable, great position but you have idea at one point that you get older and you just can't stop thinking about it. You just need to commit to it. And I applied to the grant knowing if that was the condition, okay, if I get the grant, I would quit. And when I got the grant, I remember I was traveling in Europe for some breeding trial, and I was like, oh man, what do I do? And it was a mix of scary and excitement, and yeah, and then it was a merger with Corteva, and there was a lot of change. It was okay. I say, okay, send my letter of resignation and jump into the no benefit, no money startup entrepreneur journey. And I'm still at it after 4 years, and it's still a wild journey.
Could I ask Nico a question?
Sure.
So Nico, clearly you took a lot of personal risks, but would you say that your project would have been, you said it was potentially disruptive. So do you think your actual proposal was high risk, high reward? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, definitely is really flipping upside down how breeding company trial and how we get information to make advancement decisions for breeding, and in our technology and platform, allow to drop by 15 the cost of trialing and precision. But it was very much a different approach in terms of big company is highly controlled, research station based, little contact with grower, especially early stage. And for us, it was really, with the concept of Airbnb, connecting directly grower to breeder to decrease a lot this big cost, but also, so there was definitely a lot of risk.
Milo, you touched on this. You started touching on this before. So, what was your situation when you decided to go after the SBIR? I guess your employment situation. You started going to the structure of PI.
Right. I couldn't ever be the PI because I'm full time here at the university. I do have summers off because I'm on a 9-month appointment, so I could work on some things with the company, but we needed to have a PI, and first that was my daughter, who has a PhD in microbiology and could show that she had some expertise in this, but then she got a job at a university, and so she also couldn't be the PI. So we were very lucky. You have to have a little bit of luck in some of these things to work with a person named Randy Wagner, who had the technical expertise, and he has become the PI on our grants. And we work out of the MG&E Innovation Center at the University Research Park. And so we work in a lab. It's a shared lab with another company that we lease their space and equipment. So it's a very shoestring kind of approach. It's not, we don't have a lot, but we're able to, we've got a contract with one of my colleagues here at the university, kind of like Melinda said, and in Laura Hernandez's lab, they do the work, the in vivo work that with our proteins when we make them. That's worked out very well. But most of the work is done by one employee. So we don't, it's very small, like I say, ant steps kind of moving along, but it's exciting to be able to see as Nico was saying, kind of your vision come true of something you've thought about a long time, and that's the nice thing.
Okay, we're getting down to the end here, so let me ask each of you, what tips can you give future SBIR applicants based on your experience? Just one or two tips on kind of the maybe pre-award activities, observations, decisions. And Milo, let's start with you if you've got anything that you want to share.
Okay, I mean, I think you want to get a little bit of assistance probably with the grants, because these grants are quite different than others. And you guys give assistance. You guys did a proposal review for us when we were sending the first one. And so I think that's a tip. Try to get some consultant or someone to help you. And don't give up. Don't be discouraged, even if it doesn't seem like it's going fast. At this point, I feel like it's just running full speed, even though we were doing the ant steps at the first. So.
And
Yeah, no, I will echo what Milo say, and really make sure you have the time to do all of it, and just start away in advance. And yeah, use all the resources that USDA and CTC offer. There's a lot, and yeah, just do it.
And any, now that you both have worked on projects, any surprises about managing them? Any pros and cons, things that would be helpful to share?
I'll just mention the amount of paperwork is more than I ever expected. The first grant was $100,000, and it was a lot of paperwork for that. The second one was $175,000, but it takes quite a bit of time, more time than I expected, since I wasn't doing the work. But that's just one thing. But I think it's worth it, because you kind of see this vision come to pass. But if other people need some help, particularly in the animal production area, don't hesitate to contact me, including from the CTC. They've done a lot for us on our grants, and
yeah, same. If you want, you need to contact me also for advice. And I think for us, when you get the SBIR phase 1, you can access to SBIR Advents from CTC, and that for us was a huge boost in terms of business, and primary market data, and also having that allow us to apply obviously for phase 2. It was not successful, but everything we learned writing phase 2 commercialization plan help us getting investment and VC money. And so yeah, having a SBIR phase 1 is definitely a stamp of approval too, and so yeah, it was hugely beneficial.
Okay.
So Brian, we did have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
The first one be to you or the panelists, Brian. How should a UW professor go about submitting this SBIR phase 1 grant for a spinoff found a technology with IP through WARF? Can the professor start a company, or should she partner with an existing company with an interest on commercializing the technology? And you need one full-time employee working for the company.
I guess I can kind of take that, Brian, because yeah, you can do it, but you cannot. You can't be the PI on the grant. So you have to have an employee who's going to be the PI on the grant, and they have to look, like I say, have a PhD or have some expertise in that area so that they can look like the PI. But you can do it. I mean, I'd encourage you to do it as your independent company. Just start a company, a Wisconsin company, and then get some expertise from CDC, because they'll let you hire a consultant. They'll give you money to hire a consultant, and then you can work with that. I think it's best to go through your own company. That's just my feeling. I can't remember the rest, if that answered all the questions, or yeah. And if it's through WARF, that's not a problem. You still can have that private company and work with WARF technology and patents through WARF. That's not a problem. And can license the technology from WARF is how it's going to be if they have the patents.
All right, thanks, Milo. Margaret, was there another one?
Yeah. So that covered that question. Great, thank you. And then this one was more for Melinda. Are there some statistics regarding awards? And I think they mean like maybe award rates or particular technologies for the 8.6 and 8.12 topics. Is there somewhere they can look for that information?
You know, I don't think that that information is possible to get. I don't believe that we have anything like that publicly available. I believe, but it is a 15, like for phase 1, that 15% success rate is across all 10 topic areas. So it doesn't really vary from topic area to topic area. It's 10%, 15% of the total applications, and that's applied to each topic area. Then for phase 2, you know, around 5%. So, and that's again across all topic areas. Does that help?
I'm also going to put in the SBIR word search. Maybe that might be helpful too. I just put that in the chat. You can play around with that.
Okay, Margaret, anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap up here. Looks like we're a little bit over time.
No other questions in the chat. If you do have other questions, feel free to email me and I can send them to the appropriate person.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks again, Melinda, Milo, and Nico. This was really helpful. Before saying goodbye, I'll remind everyone that, you know, CTC, as Margaret said at the beginning, is a Wisconsin state-funded resource to help small businesses navigate the SBIR process. And we offer one-on-one counseling, microgrants, as has been mentioned here, pre-submission proposal reviews, lean startup programming. So don't hesitate to schedule a free counseling session with us. And thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.